Hi everyone. Today on the podcast, I am thrilled to welcome Irena Palamani. Irena is a mother of two and a leader in data science and AI. She is a Gen AI pioneer who has led major AI transformations, upskilled hundreds of professionals, and champions ethical AI practices. Beyond her impressive career, she brings honesty and insight into the challenges and joys of balancing motherhood with a high impact tech career.
However, one thing that I want to make clear, like through my LinkedIn posts, is that do not fear that you're not going to be a good mom just because you love being an ambitious woman, for example. So, because I know there's a lot of young women that think of motherhood as something that is going to deaccelerate their career. And this is probably true to some extent initially, right? Because you have to take a step back if you want to focus on your kids. However, as you said, like there's so many skills that you are gaining during that period where you're like really focusing on your kids that are super beneficial in your career, like once you go back to your job, because then things are going to click so much faster.
Hi, Rina. Welcome to Latency and Latte. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Renuka, for the invite. Very happy to be here today.
Absolutely. One thing I admire about your post, I have been following it, is how openly you talk about both motherhood and leadership. It feels refreshing because most of the time we only see the shiny career achievements, but you bring in that real lived experience. I think that's what makes your story so inspiring. And so let's begin with our motherhood journey and foundation. You have shared that during your PhD, you were raising two little ones. What was the hardest, but also most grounding part of that phase?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I mean, as you said, one of the things that you appreciate is the honesty and authenticity, and I'm very happy that that resonates and it comes through because as I had my kids and as I was doing my PhD, I think the thing that I felt all the time was guilt.
Hmm.
You see all of the successful moms, and you're not successful yet, and you feel like you're never going to be able to get there because you always feel this guilt. You're like, okay, if I spend time on my PhD, I'm doing so at the expense of my kids. And if you're spending time with your kids, you feel like you're falling behind academically, or, if you're not doing a PhD, you're falling behind in your career.
Right.
I know that other mothers probably feel this all the time, like the tension between being a good mom and being good at your job or, your as a student or whatever we are doing in our day to day. And I think that guilt, I kept it with me for so many years that when I started writing on LinkedIn, this is one of the main reasons why I always want to focus on both sides of the story, because I feel like sometimes we focus so much on the positive that we forget that we always have to make sacrifices, and it's possible to be amazing at everything all the time. Like it's not possible. We cannot be 100% at being a mom and 100% at being an employee and 100% at being a wife and 100% at being a daughter and everything that we have to do, our day.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree. You cannot be 100% at every aspect of your life. And the mama guilt is always there. Even you do good, even you do bad. Back of the mind, something is going on. I totally resonate with that. And I love your honesty here because often we glorify doing it all, but the way you frame it as seasons of focus and there are trade-offs. So it's such a healthier lens. It's so powerful hearing it from someone who has already managed not just academic rigor but also raising young kids. So that makes leadership lessons feel more human and more relatable, especially in this AI world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was just going to say that's been my intention too, to come through as an authentic voice.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about strategic imbalance instead of perfect balance. So can you tell us how the mindset shift change the way you approach both parenting and leadership?
Yeah, I mean, for me, perfect balance is just a myth. As I said, it's impossible for us to be great at everything all the time.
Yeah.
So I felt guilty for a long period of time and I felt like I was failing at everything. I was a bad mom. I was a bad employee. Every time I would sacrifice basically my job, I would feel like I failed at being a good employee. And every time I would sacrifice time with my kids, I would feel like I failed as a mom. Or if I missed, let's say, something related to their school or daycare. And then I realized that having, thinking about this as some kind of perfect balance that we have to find where everything is like amazing is a myth. And so for me, this notion of like what I call strategic imbalance comes from the fact that like we are amazing at everything, but we cannot be amazing at everything all the time. So we have to be intentional about what matters most at that point in time. Maybe, if my kid needs my support or if they are sick or if they have a day off and I need to be more for them that day, and then my job is going to get less of me that day because I'm going to prioritize my kid. But if I have a very big project that needs to be delivered, let's say in a week, then it's possible that during that week, my kids are going to get less of me and I'll have to put a lot more of me into my job. And so for me, it's all about, how do you strategically pick where you're having your imbalance, basically, based on whatever matters the most in that moment. And this is how I've been trying to find my normal. I mean, I should say that for me, this is always work in progress. I feel like, I'm always learning and I'm always trying to deal better with trade-offs or use my time better, manage my time better so that the trade-offs do not seem as bad or as extreme. And it's always work in progress. But yeah, I mean, as I said, like I never strive for perfection anymore. I used to do that all the time when I was a student. I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. And I mean, even in my PhD, I only had one A minus. So for me, I had like this very high bar about myself that I could never not be perfect. And then when I became a mom, my entire view of the world changed. And out of
Absolutely.
a sudden, like perfection went out of the window. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I cannot do this anymore. Otherwise, I'm going to be miserable. And my kids are not going to be happy with a miserable mom. And I just have to understand this new reality that I have to let things go. I mean, something's got to give. You cannot be great at everything all the time. And, sometimes my house is super messy and I'm okay with that. And sometimes I have the time to clean and I'm okay with that too. So, I just live with the messiness of my life and see it as a normal rather than as something imperfect that I have to fix.
Absolutely, 100%. We have to choose our battle at that moment. And it's so refreshing way to look at leadership. And honestly, it's a leadership framework in itself, knowing where to give your excellence, where to give good
Exactly.
stuff, and where to pause entirely. So I feel like this kind of wisdom that doesn't just apply to parenting, but also building, our AI systems, leading teams, and even such scaling innovation responsibly.
Yeah, for sure. I think everything, if anything, being a parent makes us more empathetic, which I think is even more important now in the time of AI. Like, I always worry about the systems that we are building and the solutions that we are building. And in my day to day, I mean, I'm always thinking about how this is going to impact, humankind. Are we thinking responsibly about the solutions that we are building? Are we really doing like a bias check and thinking about the people that are not being represented in the data that we're using, for example? And are we like monitoring things over time to make sure that we are not making things worse in certain directions? So those are very important pieces. And this all comes from that fairness that you want for your kids, right? Because I mean, the future, our kids are going to be impacted by AI systems in everything they do, like the way how they are being hired, maybe the way how they are being educated, the way how healthcare is done. I mean, I cannot even imagine how involved AI is going to be in their lives. And I just
True.
want to make sure that like the future generation is not going to be impacted in a negative way by the way how we are optimizing AI solutions right now and how we are building these solutions right now. I mean, responsible AI should really be at the forefront of every AI solution, like the most important thing, more so than any efficiency gains or optimizations or any kind of quantitative metrics that we might be improving, if it's coming at the expense of what makes us human
Yeah.
and that empathy, I mean, for me, that's probably a solution not worth having.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's alarming because younger kids, especially my 8 years old, she was talking about Chat GPT the other day. And I asked her, what is Chat GPT? How do you know about it?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, we were discussing in a classroom about Chat GPT, how we can use it. And that's actually alarming. The raw creative thinking and all those basic human qualities are might not get vanished over time because of the AI.
Yeah. It will be
Yeah.
interesting to see where AI goes.
Yeah. So what's one motherhood superpower that is also become a leadership superpower for you in data science?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like motherhood is embedded in so much that I do or I try to achieve as a leader.
Yeah.
If I had to pick maybe one, I would probably say being able to read or
Hmm.
anticipate the need of others before they are able to articulate it. I think as a mom, one of my proudest moments was when I could understand what my baby wanted and the
Yeah.
people around me had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great achievement, I could say.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel so powerful. I mean, that's where you understand that the baby really needs you because you're the only person that can make them talk basically through, you would notice even like sudden movements in their body or like energy shifts. And then immediately a mom knows what their baby needs. And I think in leadership and in the industry, for me, that has been super powerful, like being able to read leaders in a room, being able to anticipate their needs, being able to be there for them before they even know that they're going to need, for example, data science support in their day to day. I think for me, this has been very, very helpful, and it definitely has helped expedite my career growth, like being able to anticipate the needs of others.
Absolutely. And I love that connection because sometimes the skills we don't even think about empathy, patience, sometimes pattern recognition in chaos or with the kids are actually what makes us better leaders in tech, probably. Because I completely resonate that motherhood is embedded in us so much that it comes into a picture, even if we at work or even talking with some stranger. And hearing it from you makes me rethink how motherhood is not a detour but it should be an accelerator for a leadership.
Yes, I mean, ideally it should be. And I respect everyone, no matter whether they decide to have kids or not. I mean, motherhood is very difficult. It's very challenging. You never know if you're doing the right thing. And there's really no success metrics because no matter how old your kid is, I mean, you are always their mom. So it's not like you raised your kid until 18 and they went off to college and now, that chapter is closed. Like you always need to support them, and it's very difficult. And so it's understandable that there's a lot of women that decide that this is not the path that they want. However, one thing that I want to make clear, like through my LinkedIn posts, is that do not fear that you're not going to be a good mom just because you love being an ambitious woman, for example. So, because I know there's a lot of young women that think of motherhood as something that is going to deaccelerate their career. And this is probably true to some extent initially, right? Because you have to take a step back if you want to focus on your kids. However, as you said, like there's so many skills that you are gaining during that period where you're like really focusing on your kids that are super beneficial in your career, like once you go back to your job, because then things are going to click so much faster. You're going to be so good at prioritization. Like that's
Right.
what I tell people, because they're like, how do you manage being active on LinkedIn and being great at your job and being a mom of two? And I'm like, ruthless prioritization. Like that's the only way to make it happen. And now, I mean, when I think of my days when I was not a mom, I'm like, what did I do with all my free time?
Exactly. Yeah.
I've had so much free time that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, yeah. I
There's so
also feel I
many.
wasted so much time back then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wonder about that all the time. Or like when you think that a PhD is hard, or when you think that your first job is hard, and then I think having kids helps you recalibrate everything in your life. And then out of a sudden, your risk tolerance is higher and your confidence in yourself is higher, and you become much more of a go-getter and you know exactly what you want. I mean, I think motherhood helps you go through a period of rediscovery of your own self because you understand your own limitations and your own strengths, right? So, and that helps in your job because then you go there a much more prepared employee. You know exactly where you want to go, how you want to go, you know what you tolerate, you know what you do not tolerate. And I mean, for me, I think it has been I feel very lucky and very blessed that I entered the industry as a mom. I think that was very, very helpful for me.
Absolutely. Whole perception changes everything. Even if you look at your career, even sometimes your innate qualities also changes. Earlier, I was like more practical. Now I got that emotional side of me, and I was like, I wasn't like that before,
Exactly.
and that kicks in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, reading news about kids and,
Yeah,
you cry out of a sudden because you think about, I mean, all kids are like your kids, you feel pain
yeah,
for others in the world. And
absolutely.
this is a very important trait for leadership too, because I mean, servant leadership, I think, is something very powerful. And I don't think you really truly understand that
Yeah,
until you become a parent. Because at least for me,
yeah, absolutely,
the first encounter with unconditional love is my kid, right? Like, you love this person no matter what. Like, there's nothing they can do that
absolutely.
is going to make you not love them. And I think that's kind of similar to servant leadership as well, where the focus as a leader for you is like to feel that responsibility and opportunity to help shape the career of others and help grow others. And that's so, I mean, it's such in parallel with parenthood, right? Because that's exactly what you're trying to do to your kids. You're trying to provide unconditional love and support. And I think that same thing can help your employees and directs and everybody, your colleagues. It can help them thrive if you're there to provide that kind of support and that kind of love and advice to them all the time. So I think for me this is also something very powerful that I've seen happen.
Absolutely. And that's why I believe we need more women in tech to bring this perspective, to bring this change. And it's just not about empathy, it's more about understanding your team, helping them thrive in their own career. Yeah, I agree here. And let's shift gear here a little bit about to career transition. So you went from being a professor to leading large scale AI transformation. So what made you take that lead?
Yeah, so I mean, it is unfortunate that when we do PhDs, academia is usually seen as the only path forward. And usually, if you don't take that path, you are considered almost a failure. When I was about to graduate, like it was 2020, at the time, I didn't want to go into the job market because my kids were very young. Little did I know that, like, after that, COVID was going to hit really badly. And so by that time, I mean, probably, thinking in hindsight, I should have gone for it. But I was so scared to just like go for academic jobs and like not try anything else. And I mean, during my PhD, I taught for like 6 years and I loved teaching. However, I also saw all the bureaucracy when it came to like getting publications and getting initiatives done within the university, because there's always like this old mindset versus the newer mindset. And sometimes achieving an alignment is like not very easy. And then I was like, I don't really know if I want to do this for the rest of my life. I mean, I did find a lot of like happiness in teaching my students, but there's so much opportunity to teach others everywhere. Colleges and, teaching per se is not the only way to do that. And that's how I decided to apply to more broad industry jobs. And I think I've written vastly about this. I mean, I was very unsuccessful. Most of my applications, I didn't even receive any callbacks or any emails, saying that you're not being considered. And I thought I had a very good chance, in like government jobs, consulting jobs. And I had only applied to one tech role, which was Amazon. And Amazon happened to be the only company that actually called me back and that I went through all the loops and ultimately got a job offer. But for me, when that happened, it was like such eye-opening because first of all, I didn't even want to apply to Amazon because I felt like they would never consider me. And the fact that that ended up being my job, I mean, for me, now I've made it like a mission to tell others not to self-reject. So the worst we can do is close our own doors. Like that's something that we never want to do.
Right.
So after that, I mean, whenever I was mentoring others, I started teaching them about, not looking for perfection, even if they match like 50%, 70% of the job requirements, to go for it and to never downplay their skills and the importance and the impact that they can bring to like any company. So for me that was very eye-opening. And I mean, obviously when I started to Amazon, I faced a lot of challenges there too, because I was coming with this like academic mindset where you take forever until you perfect your analysis, and then
Yeah.
you don't really connect it to like any kind of business impact. And it's just a lot of like mindset shifts that you need when you go from academia to tech.
Completely different environment, I believe. And that's a bold move. And your story shows that you don't have to wait until you feel ready to make a leap. Sometimes the expertise you have built in one domain is exactly what the tech world needs.
For sure. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, did you ever struggle with imposter feelings when making that transition from academia into a big tech?
Every single day. I mean, now it's kind of funny when you think about it, but back then I was so stressed and I felt miserable because I mean, first of all, you go into the company and you have to understand the language of the company, like especially in a place like Amazon, they are so fond of acronyms
Yeah.
and they're always talking in these acronyms that I had no idea what they meant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been getting used to the language that the company uses and getting used to the domain. I mean, for me, I joined the marketing org, so I had no prior understanding of what a marketing campaign was. I had no idea what impressions were, what reach was, like all of these things that matter. So I had to learn a lot about the domain. And then even from the technical perspective, because you'd think that, okay, you had a lot of challenges because of the new domain, but at least you had the tech skills you needed. Even that was not the case because I needed to learn Python. I had never used Python in my life before. And now I needed to code everything in Python because we were part of a broader team with engineers embedded in our org where, their main language was Python. And so I had to learn that too if I wanted to productionize my models.
Hmm.
And I just felt like it was so overwhelming. I'm like, when are they going to fire me? Literally, this is the question I was thinking every day. I was like, when are they going to realize that I was a bad hire, that I'm never going to be productive, I'm never going to have business impact here, and, they'll just let me go.
Yeah.
So for me, this continued for about like 2 months. I think the real game changer was when my manager asked me to lead an SVP review.
Hmm.
At the time, I mean, I was very new. I wasn't very good at like doc writing, which is the bread and butter of like Amazon.
Hmm.
And we had this SVP review where the outcome of the meeting was going to be whether we are going to be given the headcounts that we were asking for this big project that we wanted to lead. And I mean, the stakes were really high.
Hmm.
And I was so nervous. I told my manager, I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? Like, aren't there better people, more experienced people? She's like, yeah, it's going to be fine. You can handle it. And then, I mean, of course, I did my best to prepare for the doc. I did my best in the presentation. The meeting went very well. And then, it was successful. We got approved the head counts. And then my manager told me, she was like, you see, I told you everything was going to go well. And for me, that was very, very powerful because it's as if she held a mirror in front of me to tell me how to see myself, right? Like I had seen myself as this imposter that did not belong there, that did not know anything, that could not have any kind of business impact. And now I'm blocking all of those resources for my team.
Yeah.
It really helped me see myself at a completely different light. I mean, I can say this with like 100% that if that event had not happened,
Yeah.
I'm sure that I was gonna get fired, because that's how I was thinking about myself. Like, if you have that mentality where you're always thinking that you're a failure, you're a failure, you're a failure, then ultimately you're gonna become a failure, right? Because you have no way to bring yourself up. You're just like burying yourself down deeper and deeper and deeper every day. So what she did to me is like she saved my career. She saved my confidence. She was the main reason why after that I blossomed. Like, I completely became a new person. I completely changed the way how I viewed myself. I changed the way how I approached problems. Everything was so different after that event. And now I try to be that manager for everyone in my life. I try to bring that good perspective. I try to give that trust, even if it's not completely earned, so that people can take a leap of faith, right? Like, that's how you grow. You don't need to be completely ready before you jump into something. I mean, sometimes the biggest growth happens when we are in these challenging environments or circumstances where we think that we do not belong. And then we realize that we were exactly where we were supposed to be, and we were just the only people that did not know that.
Absolutely. And it's such a powerful story. And the message is we should step out of our comfort zone. And thank you so much for being so candid about that, because so many of us assume that leaders at your level never experience these doubts. But hearing you normalize it while also showing how you can navigate it. So it's powerful.
I mean, I should also add that I feel imposter syndrome daily now too. It's
Yeah.
just like in a different perspective. And I do believe that imposter syndrome is actually a good thing. You just need to know how to channel it. Like, if before I thought of it as a threat to my career, now I really think of it as a growth companion. So when
Yeah.
I have like this kind of imposter syndrome feeling, to me that's like a good sign, because it shows that I'm in a place where I still have room to grow and I don't know everything there is to know. So some kind of imposter syndrome can be channeled in a positive way, and it can help you understand like where you are. So I wouldn't say that now I consider imposter syndrome like a bad thing, but it all has to do with the mindset, like how you see it.
Absolutely. And it's a great way to deal with it. And how did your background in economics help you carve a niche in machine learning and AI?
So economics, I mean, I really like economics because I think it's like a social science, but it's also at the borderline of like STEM. So it's like a connector between like logic and, the human kind of emotions. For me, the part that has been the most beneficial, I should say,
Hmm.
is this kind of ideal or whatever we strive for in economics, which is always understanding the drivers of something. Like, did X really cause Y, or was it something else happening? And when you think about data science, I mean, there's so many like machine learning AI models where you can throw any feature and it's going to give you something. But like, are those really the features that you need to put in there? So for me, I think having that mindset, like really thinking, taking a step back and thinking very carefully about like all the features that you are considering, or even when you get the output, like trying to break that black box as much as possible to really understand, okay, this model is predicting this, but like, where is that coming from? Like, how do I interpret the answer in a way that can help my decision making, in a way that it can give me some actionable insights? And a lot of ML models, I mean, the most sophisticated ones are usually, the blacker boxes. And I think having that balance about like, okay, this outcome is okay if we don't understand it fully, versus let's say this other outcome where we really want to understand the drivers and we really want to give our leaders like a full picture for why this is happening, right? Like, thinking back, for example, in banking, like if you're rejecting someone's application for a loan or for a credit card, you better know why that's happening, because that person is going to write to you and is going to tell you, right? So there are some things that we do in our day to day that, you really have to be very careful about the drivers. And I think having the mindset of an economist really helps there, because we always care so much about like drivers.
Yeah, yeah. And this is fascinating. Honestly, it makes me think about how AI isn't just about maths and algorithms, and it's also more about systems thinking, understanding the trade-offs. And I believe economics feels like a super underrated foundation for for this space, especially. And what do you think?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, a lot of people do not know what we do, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like a lot of people, when I tell them I'm an economist, for example, at Amazon, like we have an economist title, but I mean, in many other companies, there's not even economist titles. There's titles like data scientist, research scientist, applied scientist. And they're like, why would a business need an economist? Because they always think of economists related to like finance or like stock market. However, what we do is really we bring data to business so that they can make more informed decisions. For example, let's say when I was at Amazon, I did a lot of work on measuring uh, marketing campaign performance, right? Like as a business, you're spending money to market your either like business deals like we used to have, for example, Prime Day, back to school, etc., or like other initiatives that are going on. But like you want to know, right? Like where should you put your money? Is it better to invest more, let's say, through TV? Is it better to invest more through social media? Is it better to invest more like in out of home like marketing channels? So all of those decisions are economic decisions. And so we always try to simplify the decision making for them so that they had the data driven way of like making decisions where gut feeling was not like enough, right? So or sometimes we would supplement the gut feeling with data, which was even better. So I agree with you. I think econ phds tend to be very underestimated, or a lot of people do not know what they do, but I have seen economists help business a lot everywhere, and in every dimension within Amazon, but even now that I'm at Walmart.
Absolutely, and that should be the headline for this podcast, where we are diving deep into economics. As you said, at your previous company, you led some major Gen AI initiatives. What's the one story where AI actually surprised you with its potential?
Would say this is probably my very beginning when I should say that I was not a fan of AI at all initially. I wasn't believing in it. I was like, this is all hype. We're talking about 2023. I wasn't even playing with ChatGPT at the time, even though it had been out for like a few months. And then I went to Grace Hopper conference. I saw someone present a demo on a chatbot, and I was like, this is so amazing. And then I created my own chatbot when I went back to work. And I could see like how so many documents were put together like in the back end. And then I could like query through them and I could ask these questions and get answers in seconds. And for me, that was eye opening. Like that's where I truly saw the power of AI. And I think since then, I've just tried to upskill myself, learn more things, and also help others get upskilled.
And you make it clear that AI isn't abstract; it's tangible, and it changes lives. Now the things have been
Yes,
going on.
for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think, but for me, it's very important that people start with the problem first.
yeah.
Because I think, I mean, I've seen and I've been to many conferences talking to other leaders, and I see that there's a lot of like companies or leaders that see AI as a checkbox, like so that they can talk to their board and they can say, yes, we did like 20 AI solutions. But
Hmm.
if you want to implement AI in the right way, I think you really need to think from the problem first perspective. First, identify the problems. Then you do a deep dive and you understand, okay, is AI the solution for this problem? Maybe you just need automation. Maybe you just need ML, right? Like not everything needs to be Gen AI. And then if after that thorough deep dive, you realize that Gen AI or AI is the way to move forward, then I think that's when you really should start looking deeper into it. And I'm also a
Yeah.
very tool agnostic kind of person. Like I don't get attached to tools.
Hmm.
Because for me, I think if you think about the right problem,
Yeah.
that's always going to be a problem. And the way how you think about the solution will always be like the solution, no matter whether you're doing it through Gemini agents or through ChatGPT agents or through Claude agents. I mean, to me, that's a little bit less important.
100%. First, we should understand the problem statement, and we can think of if we need to bring AI workflows into that uh, uh, a particular problem statement. I completely agree here. And now you are driving people science at Walmart. So, what does that mean in practice? How do you balance innovation with the human side of data?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because Walmart is I mean, even in our motto, we say we are a people-led, tech-powered. And I think the fact that people-led comes before tech-powered goes to show how important our people are for our company. And everything that we do it to improve the lives of our employees. So all the research, the end goal is basically how can we make data-driven decisions that support, the well-being and the growth of our associates, our employees. So a lot of what I do is basically research in the workforce domain, from, let's say, what are the drivers of retention to like the drivers of productivity, to understanding like the benefits that we need to offer to our workforce, to understanding like the struggles or challenges that they are facing. And a big portion of what we do is also helping our leaders understand the impact of AI on different roles, as well as like the gaps that we'll see between, let's say, certain roles, and like what kind of training and certifications do we need to bring to life so that we can breach those gaps and we can help our employees upskill in the age of AI. So that's also an important piece of what falls in my remit.
Absolutely, and it's beautifully put. And you have upskilled 200 plus people in AI. What worked best when teaching complex tech concepts to non-technical leaders?
Yeah, that's another great question. I mean, for me, the most important thing that has been helpful is using analogies. So instead of using like technical jargon, use analogies. So every time I try to understand, for example, what kind of problems are people facing in their day to day that AI can be a good solution for, I always ask them, I say, if you were to get intern today, what would you have the intern, what would you teach them first to do for you so that you wouldn't have to do something that takes a lot of your time? It's pretty manual. It's pretty like, box by box, and you can teach them fairly quickly. And that's how I get them to start talking about their issues. And that's how I understand better, like what AI can potentially do for them. But then the other component is to destigmatize AI, right? I think the best way for people to learn is to do so hands-on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like courses out there, and I've taken so many courses too, where I have done like zero projects because I was so short on time, and I thought I was going to do all of the homework and everything, and I never did. And there's so much power in teaching somebody something hands-on. So we do a lot of like workshops where everybody like follows along. And I mean, especially when I was at Amazon, like we used to have these monthly sessions and monthly workshops where people could come. And sometimes I had like these very simplistic agents that I was building so that everybody could say, I built one agent. And I think just knowing that at least you build something that worked, then that gives you more incentive to want to build more and be less scared that you don't have the necessary technical skills to do it. Um,
I love that, and it's one thing. It shows not just your technical brilliance, but also your gift as a teacher. And it's one thing to build models, but it's another to empower entire org to understand and adopt them. That's a real transformation. Thank you for highlighting that story. Looking back, what advice would you give to moms or women in academia who are curious about breaking into tech?
say if I can say one sentence to every woman, is that you are enough. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of women think that they are not enough, or that they do not belong in tech, or that they don't have the necessary skills to be successful in tech, or that if they go into tech, this is going to come at the expense of them being a good mom or a good wife or, a good friend, etc. I always try to say that, going back to that strategic imbalance piece, that, you have to trust your skills, you have to trust your value, you have to be confident in everything you have achieved so far. Nothing we do in our day to day is easy. I mean, even if you have been a stay at home mom for most of your life,
Yeah.
try having someone in tech go and do that. We just have this wrong perception sometimes that what other people are doing is harder than what we are doing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And I think women do this a lot more probably than men do, where we always feel like, oh, but they are better, they do better, they know more. And that's not true at all. And, also trust your trust your ability to learn everything that you'll need to know eventually, right? Like, even if you don't know something, that's fine. I mean, who knows everything? Nobody knows everything. If you need to know XYZ, you're gonna learn when you get to it. And that's it. Like, I always try to keep this, like, instead of me trying to be super confident and saying I know everything, I try to be confident in the saying that I can learn anything. So as long as I'm confident in my ability to learn anything, then I can go in front of everyone and confidently say that I don't know this, but I have learned this, and that in such a short time span. So I have full confidence that I can learn whatever you throw my way and do it so successfully. So this is one advice maybe that I would give to all moms and to all women, that make themselves look smaller in their eyes, and that by default gets reflected in how others perceive them. So I
Right.
think if you want others to believe in you, if you want others to really help you thrive, first you have to be your own fan, and you have to believe in yourself and be confident in your skills.
Absolutely. That's a great advice. And I would say eventually that will reflect in your motherhood and how you raise your kids also. That confidence and what qualities you inculcate in your kids. Eventually, it's a complete reflection of what you have said here. It's a beautiful way to close. And the last question, Irina, if your kids listen to this podcast one day, what's the one lesson you would want them to take away about resilience and pursuing big dreams?
I mean, what I would tell them is that I never knew where I was going or what I was doing. I
Hmm.
was always scared, and
Yeah.
still I figured it out. I think there's always light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how scared they feel. They should always follow their dreams, because there's no bigger regret in life than not having tried something that you really, wanted to pursue. So it's better to have tried and failed than to have never tried. And I cannot wait to see what they do in their own journeys, and that I love them, and that I'm always going to be proud of them no matter where they end up.
Awesome. That's a beautiful way to close. And I think your kids, and honestly, whoever, all of us listening, are lucky to hear this wisdom. And the other day my husband goes, "You already talk at work and the kids never stop talking. Why on earth do you need a podcast?" And I am like, sorry, I wanted to have that actual meaningful conversation for once in my life because, what's for dinner? Where is my backpack? That doesn't fuel my soul right now. I just wanted to have that meaningful conversation. And I think I'm
I
very
feel, I
happy.
feel you. I feel you. And thank you so much again for the time and for the opportunity. This was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Irina. I'm glad to have you on this podcast.